Hello everyone. So in today's video, we are going to be doing a review of the Moza Aircross 2. And as you can probably tell by its name, this is the Aircross 2, so it's the second version of the Aircross lineup, which means that Moza has inserted a lot of new and useful features into this motorized gimbal. Now, for those of you who are sort of new to the filmmaking world, using a motorized gimbal like this can help you to get very smooth video footage. Whether you're walking or even running with your camera, this can deliver smooth footage and help you to sort of make your videos look more professional. In addition to that, it's very useful if the camera that you do use doesn't have the in-body image stabilization. So getting this can be a great addition, especially if you're starting off in the filmmaking world. Now, there's quite a few different gimbals that you can find on the market from different manufacturers, but I think the main factors that's going to make you sway from one product to the other is going to be the features that it offers and also the price point at which the gimbal comes in at. And I think that the Moza Aircross 2 comes in at a very fair price point. And for that price point, you're getting a lot of useful professional features that you're going to find on more higher level gimbals. So the whole point of this video is to go over those various features. And also, I want to show you some tips and tricks on how you can balance your gimbal. If you're new to this, balancing your gimbal can be somewhat of a challenging thing, but hopefully with these tips and tricks, it can help you to expedite that process for you. But before we get started, I would like to show you a very short video clip that I put together while using the Moza Aircross 2 so that you can get an idea as the type of work that you can produce while using this particular gimbal. So without further ado, let's kick it off with that video clip. Alright, so that entire video sequence was recorded while using the Moza Aircross 2. And that was possible due to the various modes offered on the Moza Aircross 2. So to start off, I think I want to go over the various features that it has. So as you can see here, the gimbal is already set up and it is also balanced, and I will go over how to do the balancing a bit later on in this video. But for now, I will just say that it's extremely important for you to balance your gimbal and to do it properly, because if not, your motors will have to work harder in order to keep your camera in the desired position, which means that your motors are working harder, so it's going to be consuming more of your battery life. Now, just for the record, this gimbal does have a 12-hour operating time, and it only takes 1.5 hours in order for it to fully charge. So with that being said, let's go over into how to use the gimbal and what the various features are. So you're going to want to know how to turn your gimbal on. So to do that, you will see that there's a smart wheel that's here, and inside of the smart wheel, there is a button that you simply have to hold on in order to turn it on. And once it does turn on, you will see that there's a ring that will light up. And in addition to that, you will see that the gimbal will go in its neutral position, indicating that the gimbal is now active. And if you wanted to turn off your gimbal, you simply hold on it to turn it off. But let's just say you wanted to not necessarily turn it off, but put it in a sleep mode. You can simply double tap it and it'll go into a sleep mode. So I can even move it around, okay? And if I wanted it to be active, double tap it again, and the gimbal will go back into its neutral position. So this is how you use that button function on the smart wheel. Now you're probably wondering why I'm calling this wheel a smart wheel. Well, this is because you can allocate this wheel to do different things. So let's just say that you want to, let's say, control the rolling of the gimbal. As you can see here, let me just move this to the side, go back in neutral. See, by turning this wheel, you can make your camera roll. In addition to that, you simply would click the button that would turn it on, and you can control the panning motion of the gimbal as well. And once again, click it for a third time, and you'll be able to control the tilt of the gimbal. So as you can see why, this is why it's called a smart wheel, because you can allocate it to do different things based on your preference or based on the objective. In addition to that, you can also link this smart wheel to an eye-focus motor, which can be bought with the Moza Aircross 2. So basically, this eye-focus motor would essentially go on this little stem that is here, and basically it gives you the ability to manually pull focus on your camera. Now, this is probably more of a professional type sort of feature, because you're probably only going to want to pull focus, let's just say if you're on a movie set or something of that nature. But if you're following something that's fast moving, you're probably going to want to use the autofocus that is on your camera. And basically, if you were to get that eye focus motor, you simply would turn this smart wheel and it will activate the motor, and you can manually control your pull focus simply by manipulating this knob. So as you can see, a lot of very, very cool, and I would probably say high-end features that's available on this gimbal. Now, moving on to the back of the gimbal, you will see that there is an LCD display, and this is essentially going to give you the summary of what mode your gimbal is in. So to start off with, you will see that there is tilt, roll, and pan sort of axes that is indicated on the LCD screen. And beside that, you see a series of numbers, and then you see L or F. So basically what those numbers are beside the tilt, roll, and pan is the sort of speed or the sensitivity of your motor. So if you wanted to sort of to adjust those numbers, you just take this wheel that's here and you just turn it. You turn it, and then you'll see that the numbers will go up. Okay, let me go back into my neutral position. Let me unlock all of the axes. Okay, just like so. And now it's at the highest number. Let's just see if I were to turn it down to, let's say, 39 or something. You'll see that it's moving at a lot slower speed. You can go even lower. It's like barely moving, okay? So this pretty much adjusts like the follow speed of your gimbal, and you can easily and quickly do it as I demonstrated here, simply by manipulating this wheel. And there's also different axes that's here. So you have your roll, you have your pan, and you have your tilt. Let's just say you wanted to, let's say, lock this motor and keep the tilt and the pan motor, or you wanted to, let's say, lock your pan motor and then leave the roll and the tilt active. You can do that very quickly just by using this dial that is on this gimbal. So let's just say, let me lock the tilt. Okay, so this is the tilt axis. So the roll and pan is in follow. So if I were to roll it, okay, it's in follow mode. If I were to do the pan, okay, it's gonna go. But then the tilt is gonna stay steady. See that? It doesn't tilt until I decide to take it off the lock and then follow, then it tilts. Okay, and likewise, I'm sure that you get the picture now, but if I wanted to, let's just say for the pan, let me lock the pan mode. If I try to go and pan, it doesn't move, but yet the roll still works and the tilt still works. Okay, So what I like about this setup here is that there's a screen that gives you the status of your gimbal, and also you can easily and quickly adjust which axis that you want to have in follow mode or for it to be locked. So if you're in a position where you want to get the gimbal to do something in a very quick sort of time span, then having this feature is going to be super helpful, which is what I really appreciate about this gimbal. Now, there's also a joystick that is here as well, okay? So you can use the joystick to sort of manipulate the movement of your camera. You can control the tilt, you can control the pan, okay? Not the roll, as you can see there. And there's a bunch of different options that you can go into. You can even adjust the speed at which it tilts and pans as well. So if you want to get a very fine, smooth movement that is very steady, you can just slow it down in your menu and you'll be able to adjust the speed of the gimbal, okay? All right, where shall we move to next? Okay, so at the front of the gimbal, you'll see that there is almost like a trigger button that is at the front. I guess you can somewhat call this a smart trigger as well, because you can allocate different functions to that button. But as a default, by double clicking that trigger, it's going to allow your gimbal to go into the neutral position. So let's just say you're moving it with your joystick and it's in that position and you want it to go back to neutral, you just double click it and it goes back to neutral. Now, let's just say you wanted to, I don't know, make a selfie video. You can easily do that. You don't have to turn the gimbal around. Simply triple click it. I didn't do that fast enough. 1, 2, 3. Selfie mode, just like that. And then to return to the neutral position, double click it and it's back in neutral, okay? And also, if you were to single click it, I believe that there's an option where you can go in where you can modify what that button does. So there's a bunch of cables that comes with the Moza Aircross 2 that will allow you to connect to your camera. So you can use this to, let's say, autofocus. You can use this trigger to maybe adjust it to actually take the picture. So there's a bunch of different things that you can allocate to this trigger. So very flexible, lots of different ways that you can adjust it to your own preference so that you can make it your own. So this basically scratches just the surface of what this gimbal can do. There's a few other modes that I would like to show you as well. So if you wanted to go into an FPV mode, which essentially emulates the movement of your hand in all of the directions. What does that mean? So to access that FPV mode, you just simply triple click the left button on your dial, and then that's going to put it into FPV mode. And in doing that, okay, it sort of emulates your movement and it sort of dampens it. Okay, left, right, forward, and pan, okay? So it kind of emulates, I guess, like a first person view. So like gives you the movement of someone moving their head up and down or left and right. So that's the FPV mode, sort of dampens those various movements. And let's just say there's an object that's moving very swiftly and very quickly, and you want to sort of use that gimbal to capture that moving object. Well, there's a sport mode. So to access that sport mode, you would have to, first of all, leave the FPV mode, 1, 2, 3. Once you leave the FPV mode, you tap the right button on the dial, and you'll see that there is a cue that is indicated there for the pan axis. Now what this does is, it makes the gimbal very swift and nimble. So it's very quick. So if there's, I don't know, you're on a racetrack and you're recording a car driving down the track, well, you want to be able to follow that very swiftly, right? So you would use this in order to sort of capture that action. Same thing if you're recording, let's just say, like a ball moving, if you're recording your kids maybe going to a soccer game and playing or any type of sports, then you're going to use that sport mode to capture that fast moving action. And there's also another really cool mode on this gimbal. To access that, you simply, well, first you got to leave the sport mode. So you simply click the right button once, and then to access the inception mode, And this inception mode is that image that you saw where the camera was rotating, okay? In order to access that, you simply take your gimbal and you triple click the right button on your dial pad. So you go 1, 2, 3, and look at that. You're in inception mode, just like that. And even while you're in this mode, you can do a lot of different things. So you can either use the joystick to control the circular movement, or if you don't want to keep your hand on the joystick, you can simply select the 180-degree mode or the 360-degree mode, and you can also adjust the speed at which it turns. So I'm going to adjust the speed simply by using the dial. So when you turn the dial, it adjusts the speed. Okay, I'm going to put it on, let's say 50, and I'm first going to show you the 180-degree mode. And to activate it, you click the right button on your dial pad, and then it'll do a 180-degree turn, and you click the right dial pad again, and then it'll do the other 180. And if you want it to do a full 360, at the touch of a button, you select the 360, and then you click the right dial pad, and it'll do a full 360-degree turn, which is how I was able to get that sort of 360 inception mode view while I was moving into the branch. So having this mode makes getting that type of image very, very easy and very, very useful. So let me adjust the speed to 100 and show you what that looks like. And let's do a 360-degree turn. It's a little bit faster. Okay, so again, very, very flexible in terms of what you're able to do with this gimbal. So if you wanted it to go back into the regular mode, triple click the right dial pad, and then you're ready to go, and then double click the trigger and it goes back into its neutral position. So in this gimbal, there's also a few tools available to the user in order to optimize the performance of the gimbal. What do I mean by this? Well, let's just say you wanted to sort of optimize the power for each motor. Instead of doing trial and error, there's a way that you can do it automatically. So every camera setup is different. So you might have a lighter setup or a heavier setup, and depending on that weight, the strength allocated to each motor should vary. And just for the record, this gimbal can handle a weight of up to 3.2 kilograms or 7 pounds. So this gives you a wide enough window in terms of options of different camera setups that you can have on this gimbal. So in order to access the auto tuning function, simply hold down on the red button on the circular dial, and this will open up some menu options. And then you would go down to select the gimbal, and then motor, and then power. And then you will see that there is an auto tune function. So you select that to activate it. And then you'll see that it is tuning. And what it's doing here now is it's going through each motor and it's assessing the right amount of power to send to that motor for this given camera setup. And then once it completes the process, you will see that it gives you a message that it is tuned. So right now there's different numbers assigned to each axis, and this is going to be the optimum number to keep for those motors. But you also have the option to go into the gimbal and select a low, a higher, and sort of a even higher option in terms of power for all of the motors as well, in the case that you feel as though the auto tuning function doesn't work as well. But in my experience, for the most part, this does do a pretty good job. In addition to this, let's just say, now we're going to get into this topic in just a little bit as well, but let's just say that you've balanced your gimbal, but you want to double check it to make sure that all of the axis points are properly balanced. Well, there's an option here to help you out with that. So in order to access that, once again, you simply hold down on the red button. This will open up some more options for you. So you go down to Advanced, and then you go down into Balance Check. So once you select this option, you'll see in the status window that it says checking. It's going through the motion, And then once all of the checks are completed, you will see each and every axis. In this case, it says that C is well balanced, T is well balanced, and R is also well balanced, which means that the gimbal was properly set up and it's running in a very efficient fashion. So this pretty much concludes the features that are available through the physical controls on the gimbal. However, there's a whole host of other creative features that this gimbal has that you can access through the use of an application called the Moza Master app, which is available either on your Android smartphone or on your Apple smartphone. So if you were to open up this application, let me just do that here. You will see that there's a whole host of different Moza products that you can connect to. So in this case, we are using the Moza Aircross 2. So we would just select that here. And then you would just select the Moza Aircross 2 in order to connect to it. And as soon as we do this, we see that there is a battery status for the gimbal. And at this point, it is at 88%. And below this battery symbol, there is some more options. So in order to, let's just say, control your gimbal through your smartphone, you can do that by clicking on remote control. And this will open up a screen where it'll give you control over things such as the tilt, the pan, or even the roll of your gimbal. Okay? So you can do that there. You can also record, you can take a photo, you can take a selfie, you can center your gimbal as well, and you can also control the follow speed of the gimbal all through interacting with the screen. Now, to do something a little bit more interesting as well, there's an option here called Mimic Motion. So you select that in the case that you want to use the accelerometer on your smartphone in order to control the gimbal. As you can see here, so you can pan, you can tilt, you can also roll as well, and you can also control the speed at which your gimbal moves as well. And you can also do things such as lock the axis if you don't want it to move as well. So right now only the pan is active, and let me activate the tilt as well with the pan. So there's a lot of different ways that you can interact with your gimbal. Okay. So let's just say you wanted to get a little bit more creative. There's an option here that says creative video. So there's 6 different creative options that you have here. The ones that I did have a chance to try out was the panorama, which essentially what it does is after connecting the camera to your gimbal using the cables that comes included inside of the box, the gimbal will move and also take pictures and put them together in Photoshop, and then it'll make a very smooth panoramic photo using the images that were taken with the gimbal and the camera. So very, very nice feature. In addition to that, I also use the motion time-lapse, which basically what it does is it allows you to do a time-lapse while also introducing some motion into the gimbal. So basically what I did was I did a simple pan from left to right, and because once again the camera is connected to the gimbal was controlling the points at which it was taking pictures. And after I did this, I took all of these photos, I went into Photoshop. There is a particular setting or option that you have in order to piece them together. And then once I did this, I was able to get a very smooth time lapse, as how you can see here. Another great feature as well, more associated with controlling your gimbal, is the object tracking. So there is a small device that also comes included in this gimbal set where you mount it on top of your camera. You place your smartphone on top of the camera, and then through your smartphone, you simply make a box around the object that you want to follow. And then as that object or subject is moving, the gimbal will also follow that object or subject. So another great way, another professional feature that allows you to control your gimbal without having to physically touch your gimbal. So as I mentioned before, a lot of professional level features available in this gimbal set. All right, so how do you go about balancing your gimbal? As mentioned before, balancing your gimbals is very important in order to sort of have maximum performance when it comes to your battery. So with this particular gimbal, it comes with a very nice feature. So there is a lock button for each and every single motor. So indicated with the lock symbol. So basically I would start off by locking every single axis. So lock the pan, lock the roll, okay, and make sure that your tilt is also locked. So start off there, and as we go along, we are going to unlock them in sequence. So to start off, we are going to start off with the tilt motor that's here. Now, the first thing that you're going to notice, as soon as you unlock the tilt motor, just unlock, you'll notice that your camera will start to move. And it's pretty much stationary in a position that's not very level. And basically, if this isn't level, the motor has to keep working in order to keep it in this position. So you kind of want it to be as balanced as it possibly can to put less stress on your motor and then on your battery. So how do you do this? Well, there's two axes for the tilt motor. So there's the horizontal and then there's also the vertical. So let's start off with the vertical. So tilt your camera so your lens is pointing upwards. And then you want to sort of adjust this axis so that when you let your camera go, it stays in that position. So in order to adjust this forward or back, we're going to undo the screw that is at the bottom here. Okay, so unscrew that. And then there's a track where you can move the bracket along. So didn't take me too much effort. Automatically, the vertical axis is already balanced. So once it's balanced there, you tighten it in that position. Perfect. So that's the first step. And then now the horizontal. So you put it horizontal. When you go horizontal, it's still moving. Okay, so you want to make it so when it goes horizontal that it's not moving. So how do you do that? There's a little black knob on top here. You undo that. And then this will allow you to move your bracket forward or backward. Okay. So if it's tilting too much towards the back, then you move it forward. So it's kind of like a seesaw. Okay, there we go. A little bit more maybe. So you can do micro movements. Okay, so right there. It's not moving. I'm gonna tighten it in that position, just like that. So that's the horizontal and the vertical. The vertical kind of changed because I changed the horizontal, but overall, I would consider this this axis to be balanced. So that is the first part. Now let's move on to the second part, which is the roll axis. So you'll notice that the roll axis isn't moving because why? It's locked. As soon as we unlock it now, it becomes active. What's gonna happen? Okay. So this is actually pretty well balanced right off the bat, but it's a little bit off, so let me just adjust it. So if it's rolling towards the right, then you push the camera towards the left. Okay, so I think that's better. As you can see, it's not moving even though we unlock the roll axis. We tighten it at that position. So now the tilt is balanced as well as the roll. Okay, lastly is the pan axis. So we are going to unlock that. Then you'll notice that nothing happens. And the reason for that is because in order to adjust this, it's kind of hard to sort of explain it. It doesn't really make sense logically, but basically adjusting this will sort of lower the center of gravity for the camera. And the way how you test this is by loosening this axis here with the black knob. And then when you hold the roll motor horizontally, it shouldn't move forward or backward like that, okay? So in order to adjust that, simply move it inward more, okay? And then as soon as you hold it horizontally again, look at that. It doesn't tilt over from side to side. So that means that that axis, the pan axis, is now balanced. Now all of them are unlocked, and as you can see, there is no movement in the gimbal. So this is a telltale sign that your gimbal is now balanced. All right, so this pretty much concludes this part of the video. I also want to introduce using this gimbal with the Moza SlidePod. So this is also another cool thing, is that if you're within the Moza ecosystem, there's also other pieces of equipment that you can also use with it. So because this video is long enough, I'm probably going to save this for a different video and make a specific video just for that. But yeah, so overall, my impressions about this gimbal: I think it's a very good gimbal. It's well priced. It has a ton of features that you can use either on the gimbal itself or using your smartphone for added features. And I think that if you are starting off in video making, that this is going to be a great tool to add to your tool drawer. So with that being said, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it helpful. If you have any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to drop them down below. And also, just to help out this video, don't hesitate to hit the like and the subscribe button. So until next time, I hope to see you at the next video. Take care for now.